Hi guys, happy Easter to everybody. I hope everyone's well and staying safe. This is John, Rebellion 27. Just going to do a little video on wedges. Won't be a long one, just a few questions I've had about best kind of wedge setup to be consistent, to help get up and down, to save yourself, and obviously to make birdies and hopefully a few hole outs as well. So we'll get cracking. I'm just on a Kiawah pumper that we call it in our country club, which is just very easy setup. I wanted to have it as no wind just for this first video because it just gives you a little bit more consistency and understanding of the shots we're trying to play. There are lots of variations to do if it's downwind, uphill, headwind. Headwind and uphill is a very dangerous shot if you use too much spin. So at the moment we're just going to start on sort of how to build the yardage up. So let's get cracking. Let's check. So we're 332, so we're just going to bash it down to about what I think is I'm going to try and hit it so far. So we're going to be trying to focus more on the 64 degree. I will do a couple of 56 and 60s, but this is, to start with, this is going to be a sort of 64-a-thon. So here we are, basically. So this club is a level 80 Titleist, really good club for around the greens. It's got 4.5 spin, I believe, and in combination with a half-decent ball of 4 backspin. It gives us, and every time you change something here, a different wedge or a different ball, these shots will change. So you've got to be really careful about when you introduce stuff, because it will change. If this was a 2-spin ball, it would react very differently on the green. It would go longer because there's less backspin on it, and then it would affect your flops, it would affect your pitches. So basically, if a change of ball or club will affect everything that you already knew about the shot. So I'm very careful not to change until I feel it's the right time to do so. At the moment I'm using level 85 irons and 81 ball, and I know I want to change this to a 93 ball that has 5 backspin, not 4, really to compete anywhere near a decent top level. In certain things you need that extra sort of bit of backspin on uphill shots that are downwind. So I'm choosing to wait until I've got 97 level to get the new irons and then do a new ball and change it all at the same time, if that makes any sense. So anyway, back to the wedge. So this is a 48-yard shot. I'm going to completely ignore the wind. What I try and do, and this is what I recommend, is I think lots of more talented players than me will be fiddling with spins, lots of top spin, backspin, mid spin, no spin. I try and set a platform of spin that I like. For my other 2 clubs, this one and this one, my platform is about 10% backspin, so just sort of here-ish. And I find that gives one hop and then just stops, and it doesn't spin back too much, it doesn't bounce on too much. And with the 64, I want a kind of similar reaction, and that I find is with no spin. So that's the shot I'm going to be mostly using. I'm less scared of the topspin ones than I am the backspin ones. The backspin ones you have to be sort of very careful of. The topspin one, I know, all it will do is give me an extra 4 yards. It will go about 63, 64 yards-ish. So back to this shot. So we're 48. I will do a little wind adjustment just for the sake of it. I will take the pin out. You never want to hit the pin in these circumstances. I don't need to see the pin now because I've already done my line. So we've got 48, and basically my rule of thumb here, and we did have a couple of questions on it. My rule of thumb is basically this meter fibs, lies to you in many circumstances. It's obviously not trying to do it on purpose. It's just your ball setup and your club setup. The meter can't react to that, so you have to react to what you've done with your clubs and ball to know what the meter is now worth. In this case, it's not far off. A 60-yard shot will tend to go about 60, 59, 60, and then it will drop off as you go down here. So if I'm looking at hitting a 60 shot, I'd be looking at full. If I wanted a 58 shot, I'd be looking at sort of 58 plus 1, and I'll be trying to hit sort of 59. If I want to try and hit a 56-yard shot, I'd be looking at, so this is 54 line here. If I want to hit 56, I won't hit that. If I wanted to hit 56, I'd be thinking 58. So that's 57 there. If I had 56, I'd be going about there. And I'm going to sort of move down a bit in the meter. If I had a 45-yard shot, I'd be looking at adding 3 to it. So I'd be trying to hit 48, which is this line here. If I had a 30, it obviously just releases after a certain time, never noticed that before. If I wanted to hit a 30-yard shot, I would actually move to a backspin shot here. But if I wanted to hit 30, I'd be looking at probably hitting 34-ish with no spin to try and get there. So all I'm trying to say is it basically, as the further you go down here, the more you need to add on to the meter. So on that basis, what we're looking at here is a 48. My standard is a 2 yards extra. I've just said that I'd probably add a little bit more. I sort of feel like 53 yards extra, 51 is probably a little bit too much. So I'm just going to reduce it down a little bit. It's like tailwind as well, where it won't affect too much. And you can see really nice result, gave it a good chance of going in the hole. So that sort of, I was sort of spot on there with 48 being sort of somewhere between 50 and 51. I mean, obviously half yards are then quite difficult to try and plan. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to aim, I can't look at the overall, I'm just going to aim here and see if I can hit get us into, know how far, no idea how far that's going to go or where it's going to go, but try to hit it back down the fairway. We're actually in the rough, so I'm going to try and hit this back. Back down here. 66 yards. Sorry about this, I got a little bit lost. Let's see where that takes us to. So this is quite good. So what we'll do here is I'm going to hit a full topspin 60 and see how far it goes. It won't go 67, but this is a sort of good little thing to show some people and actually for me as well, just to see where it gets to. My prediction here is, I'm thinking 63, 1 foot uphill, I'm thinking 63, it might crawl up to 64. So 64, so I mean, what's really good about that, knowing that it's going to go that 64 yards, is that sort of going a club up, if I wanted to have hit that shot and get it closer to the hole, I'm having to hit a club down and then it's a bit of a fiddly distance. Sometimes when I've got 65, 66, I wouldn't have at 67. But if I had 65 or 66 yards there, I would have probably still hit this club, knowing that it's going to leave me a little bit short. Because I know I've got a guaranteed uphill putt or flat putt. And I can't really go wrong with it. It's just a guaranteed birdie pretty much. Even if I hit it either side, it's going to be 4 or 5 feet. So let's see if we can do, let's just go on and play the next hole, I guess. See if we can leave ourselves. What are we on? 10 greens here. Not going to be concentrating on putting, obviously. I'll miss left. So we'll try and find a way out. I think it's actually a par 5 next, so we're just hitting a quick drive and then a layup. So I'm going to try and do another couple of sort of 45 to 60 yard shots and then do a couple of spin shots. Oh, we can, it's a pumper, so we can go straight over, that's good. Okay. we'll just knock this one down there, and then put one to. I think we'll put one to 55 this time if we can. So we need about a 92-yard shot. No, that's not going to work. I've got no idea how far that's going to be. It's quite hard to work out. So we'll see where this puts us. $57, a little bit more than we wanted. We've got a little headwind, and it's uphill. So we go into a 64 again. So this time we've got 57, little tiny bit of uphill, which we're not going to really worry about. A little into the wind, which we're not going to really worry about too much either. So we know we've got our line right. So 57, 2 on the meter for that, so it's sort of 59, which is probably half a yard long, but it's into a slight headwind, so I sort of like 59 here. So again, really nice distance. You're going to get some funny little misses left and right just with the precision in the game, but obviously anything that's sort of within 3 feet you're always going to be pretty happy with. So that was a 57-yard playing 59. Again, you can't just copy this on your ball and wedge because it will come up differently, but I'm just trying to sort of give an explanation of sort of how to give yourself a basis that you can sort of replicate. Oh, this is really tempting just to hit a driver. Yeah. I don't know if you've got any room around the back. It's quite a hard layup. I'm going to try and roll it off the back and see if this gives us a sort of 30-yard shot. This plays really long, so really short compared to its distance. So I'm just going to sort of hit there. Massive miss left, which isn't going to help us, I don't think. It needs to catch a piece of the green and bounce long.
Good ball.
It's on the fairway, but it's 11 yards. That's not going to help us at all with the shot. Given we're here, I'll just go through a little flop shot. So this is my basic save shot. Other people would be trying to hold this with a pitch or a punch or something. I'm still developing my game there, and I'm just going to show you the sort of type of flop I would play. So I generally try and give a flop. Now it's giving me a terrible angle. Sort of a grid and a half, 2 grids of movement because the face is open on the club. I think I've explained that before. So we're going to flop here. Basically what we're going to do is a flop. Again, the meter reduces as we go. The maximum I can get out of this setup is 18 yards, and to hit 18 yards I need to hit 20, so it's a 2 meter difference. Basically anything above 13 or 14 I'm adding 2. Anything 12 and below I'm adding 3, and anything that's like really, really short I'm going to add 4. So here we're 12, I'm going to allow 1 for uphill, 13. So I'm going 15 here, and I still think you could probably, it might even need half a yard more. So 1 yard, it will sometimes go in, but it basically is just a really nice safe shot to have in the bag if you're under pressure and need to save par. Punches and pitches are much more likely to hold out, but they're also more difficult to control if it's uphill on the green, for getting it to the hole, downhill, having enough backspin to control it. So there are different sort of pluses and minuses for that. I'm just going to bash this one over here. This might... no. So this time we're definitely try and focus on leaving a... Actually, no, we'll actually hit this shot with a different club. So we've got 77 yards in here. So this time, first thing I'm doing, I'm thinking about what club. So nothing really to worry about here. So it's an 80 yard club. So the spin I make is just under no spin. It's about 10%, I think. So that's my basis. What it does is it costs me about 2 yards on the meter. And again, that will become 3 yards and 4 yards if I slid down it. I wouldn't because I've got the 64 degree, but just for FYI. So here we've got a bit more wind. So I'm sort of looking there-ish. Don't hate that. Maybe needs a little bit more. I'll allow probably 1 for the wind there. I don't think 2's too much. So I'm looking at a 76 shot. No real uphill to worry about too much. That might counteract the difference between it. So, yeah, looking at a 76 shot, and I need to add 2 for my meter, which is 78. We know that halfway, we know that this is 72, which means in the middle is 76. So I'm going half again, going 78 here. So poor wind read or just a funny off-centre hit or something. But we got the distance right, and if you're getting the distance right, just like putting is, the more you get the distance right, if you get a little bit of a wind gust or a bad hit or a missed ding, having the distance right is always going to make you closer than if you've got both wrong. This green is funny, there's sort of death putts on both sides here. I can't remember what speed they are. So we're looking at 10, aren't we? So I'm just going to bash this, and I'm not too worried. So 3 holes, 4 holes in, and we've played 4 fairly spot-on distance wedges so far. Not really a lot we can do here. I'm going to try and leave it there and just see. So we left ourselves a good distance here. So this is what I call my mid I'm not quite sure range. And what I mean by not quite sure is generally I play no spin or full spin. And this is sort of right in between the two. Just for this exercise I'm going to hit, I would actually hit a no spin shot for this yardage, but just for this exercise I'm going to hit full spin. Once you get down to our 64 degree. Just think about wind or anything. We've got an interesting slope here which makes things different. It could make things difficult on the bounce. So actually a full backspin shot here is not that bad an idea. Just to give us a bit more control on this slope. So here with full backspin, obviously it's not going to go as far on the meter as my shot with no spin. So here what I'm doing is I'm working out the yardage here, 41, nothing here, nothing here. So I'm talking 41. And then my difference on this shot is, I say usually I'm playing a sort of 36 yard shot here, not a 41. And I'd be adding 7 yards to the meter for the fact I've made it full backspin. Because it's a bit further up the meter, I'm probably going to only do 6 here, and it could even be 5. So I don't play this shot that often with this yardage. But I'm going to go 41 plus 5, 46. Maybe 47. Something about that anyway. So again, really nice yardage, nearly hold it again. You can see if you can keep doing that over and over that you're going to get quite a few drops. So obviously pleased with that shot there. And I just showed you there the sort of the use of using backspin. I actually feel like it was actually a really nice example because I think if we hadn't used the backspin there, it would have hopped on probably 4, 5, 6 feet past. So a useful moment there. So this is a good hole for us to leave it. I'll probably try and leave ourselves a similar shot again. Hopefully we can play more of a shorter full backspin shot.
That's in the garden spot.
No, brilliantly, we've left ourselves exactly the same yardage again. Right, this time, and I'm not worried about 3.5, a 3 to 5 wind here, but this is a sort of good example. If this wind was 12, sort of 15 plus, if I try and full backspin this shot, there's a good chance when it lands it's going to spin back a lot. So you've got to be careful. So another reason here to do a no spin shot, but I have this sort of, I play on Mac, and on this browser it sort of freezes here slightly, so I'm just going to play it just under no spin. So here we're talking 40, 41, 42, 42-ish yards. Again, we'll take the pin out because we don't want to hit it. So we're talking 42 yards, and I'm playing this, I would be as no spin, so I'd be doing 45. I'm probably going to do just over 45 to allow for this. So again, dead level to the hole, another good chance of it going in. And it's sort of, again, I think it's just a really nice, so far these shots have been really nice examples of a solid base. Obviously if there's more wind, tail, head, side, you've got to be thinking about different things, and I can do that in a different video. But we're just focusing at the moment on these 40 to 60 shots. Par 5 here, so this is going to be, you have to lay up into the right place. So thinking what shot do we want here? I really want to play a 30-yard shot, but I keep leaving us to 119, 20, and 10. Hopefully that's 35-ish. So this is a shot that I put in. This is the full backspin after learning from some club mates. So I used to struggle dreadfully here because I was so stubbornly trying to play flops with not just the 64 but also the 60 and the 56. So I'd see this and go, oh, I don't want to hit a full shot. What shall I do? And I'm like 29 downwind slightly, but then because these clubs have much less spin, there's much less control to it, and it was actually a shot that cost me quite a lot at the 18th of St Andrews. That cost me winning a sort of 10,000 credit thing, and I didn't get up and down from 35 yards by hitting a flop that went 15 foot past, and I just changed immediately. So anyway, back to the shot we've got here with our 64. So now we've got 32, I'm going to add 1 for that, 33, 1 off for that, 32. You know, it's not an exact science, but just, I always feel like the more effort you put in, the more likely you're going to get a good result out. So we're looking back at 32. A tiny little wind there, which we'll just allow for. Take the pin out. We're always trying to hold from this distance. So this is my classic 32 plus 7. So 7 basically to add 7 is the 2 for the meter that I talked about before, and then 5 extra for the spin here. So I'm hitting a 37-yard shot here. That's probably the worst one we've hit so far. Because it was quite a short shot, I could have even added 8, so that would have got me quite close. So It's the worst shot we've hit so far, and we're still only 5.8. I mean, on this green, I'd be disappointed with that because it suddenly makes it, you know, a tap in suddenly is not a 50% hope, but you know, not more than 60. So again, we're not really focusing too much on that. Just bash it and see what happens. So it's such a violent slope that, you know, I'd have been really disappointed with that first chip. I was just a yard short, I think, on my kind of analysis because it was a 30-yard shot. I should have probably gone 8 yards extra, not 7. Always good to try and work out where you got it wrong. So we'll do the same here. This will leave us quite an uphill shot. We'll do 2 more holes. What have we got here? A bit of that, a bit of that. Looks like it's in the rough, even though it's not. So we've got ourselves the same shot here. So it'll be quite interesting. I'm actually going to play it. We'll work it out. 31 plus 4, so I'm going to go 32. This is where you're sort of trying to think. I'll say 33 for the moment, but it's probably 32.5. Yeah, so I'm sort of looking at 32.5 here. It's quite strange how it's only 4 foot uphill and yet we're so far below the green. I never really understand that on this game. So 32.5, and I'm saying last time that I felt like I was a little bit short, but I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go 39.5, 40 for the sake of it. So 39 is there. We're going to go sort of there. Bad miss hit this time. Sort of slightly overcompensated from the last shot, but we've still got 5 feet. Again, I'd be a bit disappointed. This is why it's so important to get your wedge game in. If you can constantly get your wedge game into 3 feet, you're holding all of those pretty much. And the 5.5 ones, I mean, it's a lot less than all of them. Again, we're not too worried about this. Managed to leave it short. So again, not trying to hold the putts, but I think it's not hard to say that I would have missed one of those because I was a yard out from my distances. But again, I can't really complain with 5 feet all the time. I mean, it's not terrible. Obviously, the ones at the beginning were a lot sharper than those two. I would say as well on that it's a lot easier to be consistent with no spin than it is fiddling with loads of backspin and half backspin and what have you. So that's why I do try and play most shots no spin. So we're going to finish on just a normal 76 shot. Now this usually plays more uphill quite significantly than it says, but with such short range that I don't think it will. So I'm not going to play for it. So we're just going to go pin out 77. Not worth adding I will add a yard because it's this hole, so I'm going to go 78, which allows us to kind of go to the 60. Now my feeling is I'll go to my normal just under no spin. Now my feeling is 80 generally goes, we're trying to go 70, 77, 78. I usually add 2, as I've discussed before. I don't want to hit this full 80 because 80 does tend to go 80. So we'll see where that takes us.
On the dance floor.
Nice one to finish, 1 yard, tap in range. I feel like if I'd hit that 80, I'd have probably gone about 3 or 4 feet past. So it's just learning your own meter and your own setup sometimes. So that's that for now. I'll probably miss this part as well, so I've not even looked at it. I hope that helps to some degree, but again, what it shows, get yourself onto a course with no wind, get your 64 degree working, and then work out when you need to change up to your 60 degree or your 58 or your 56. My wedge setup, I believe, my preference is 56, 60, 64, and then you've got pitching wedge, which is 115, so as distance. So it's 115 distance, 100 distance, 80 distance, 60 difference and distance, and I think that gives a nice blend. So played some nice shots, nothing outside 5.8 feet, so pretty good overall. The 2 little shots that I had full backspin on, I've been using those for less time than I have the no spin shot, so stands to reason that I'm probably a little bit less confident of the distances I'm trying to hit. But generally speaking, a good little 9-hole of wedge play, and I hope that helps some people. If it helps one, we're happy. And in the meantime, wish you well, see you soon, and enjoy the rest of your Easter.